Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are going on an absolutely incredible journey. We're not heading to some distant planet. We're going somewhere way, way closer, right inside our own bodies. We're about to unlock the secrets of your body's ultimate fuel factory, the digestive system. I mean, think about it. It's something we just take for granted, right? You grab a sandwich for lunch, and a few hours later, you're walking, you're thinking, you're doing everything. But what happens in between? How on earth does that mix of bread and cheese and whatever else get turned into the actual fuel that keeps you alive? Well, that is exactly what we're going to break down today. So let's start with the big picture, your body's fuel factory. The reason we even need this whole complicated system is actually pretty simple. The food we eat, it's made of these huge, complex molecules. But our bodies run on tiny microscopic cells, and there's no way they can absorb that stuff whole. So what our body needs is basically a disassembly line. And to really get why, just look at how we're put together. Everything starts with our cells, the basic building blocks, right? Those cells team up to form tissues. Tissues get together to create organs like your heart or your stomach, and then those organs work together in big organ systems. The key thing to remember here is that the fuel from that sandwich has to get all the way down to every single one of those cells. And this is the incredible system that gets the job done. This is our roadmap, the human digestive system. You can think of it like a long, winding disassembly line. It's a tube that starts at your mouth and is lined with all these specialized organs, and each one has a very specific job to do, all working toward that one goal: breaking our food down into molecules small enough for our cells to actually use. Okay, so to really understand this disassembly line, we've got to meet the key players. There are two main groups we need to know. First, there's the fuel itself, the big molecules in our food. And second, there are the special tools the body uses to unlock all that energy. First up, let's talk about carbohydrates. You'll find these in stuff like bread, pasta, potatoes, fruit, and they are the body's go-to source for quick energy. Picture them as these long chains made of little units of simple sugars, like glucose. The whole goal of digestion here is just to snap those chains apart to release that sugar. That's exactly why having a sweet snack can give you that almost immediate energy rush. Next up, we have proteins. You get these from meat, eggs, beans, nuts, and if carbs are the fuel, you can think of proteins as the building materials. They are absolutely essential for everything from building muscle to growing your hair. They're made of these long, folded chains of smaller units called amino acids. The body's job is to carefully snip those chains to get the individual amino acids it needs for all its different construction projects. And finally, we've got lipids, which you probably just call fats and oils. These guys are the body's super efficient way of storing energy for the long haul. They pack the biggest energy punch of all the molecules. They're made from fatty acids and glycerol. And as we're about to see, breaking them down is a little bit trickier, but it's crucial for having a steady energy supply. Okay, quick recap. 3 main types of fuel molecules. We've got carbohydrates for quick energy, which get broken down into simple sugars. We have proteins for building and repairing stuff, and they get broken down into amino acids. And we've got lipids for long-term energy storage, which break down into fatty acids and glycerol. Got it? Good. So how does the body actually do all this breaking down? I mean, it can't just sit around and wait for these massive molecules to fall apart on their own. That could take years. Instead, it uses these amazing little tools called enzymes. Enzymes are what we call biological catalysts. It's a fancy way of saying they are proteins that make chemical reactions happen at lightning speed. They're the reason digestion takes hours, not decades. And the way enzymes work is just so cool. It's often called the lock and key model. See how each enzyme has this very specific, uniquely shaped area called an active site? Well, that site fits perfectly with only one kind of molecule, its substrate. It's like having a key that only opens one specific lock. So an enzyme that digests carbohydrates won't even look at a protein molecule. They are highly specialized tools for one job and one job only. All right, now that we've met our molecules and our superpowered tools, the enzymes, it's time to start the journey. Let's follow a bite of that sandwich as it travels through some of the most important stops on this incredible disassembly line. So, after you chew and swallow, your food takes a plunge down into the stomach. And the stomach is so much more than just a holding pouch. It's a powerful muscular organ that churns and mixes everything up. and it bathes the food in digestive juices, which include a really powerful hydrochloric acid. This stuff creates an incredibly harsh, acidic environment. Now, that acid isn't just there to kill off any nasty bacteria you might have swallowed. It creates the perfect working environment for a very special enzyme called pepsin. Pepsin is a type of protease, which means its job is to break down proteins. And it absolutely thrives in that acidic bath, getting to work snipping those long protein chains into smaller, more manageable pieces. Okay, so proteins are getting taken care of in the stomach, but what about fats? I mean, we all know the old saying, oil and water don't mix, and since all our digestive juices are basically water, how in the world does the body deal with something greasy, like the oil in your salad dressing? Well, for this problem, the stomach needs to call in for some backup. And here comes the support crew. As that soupy mix of food leaves the stomach and enters the small intestine, it gets hit with a flood of digestive juices from these three crucial organs: the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. Now, food doesn't actually go through them, but they're like chemical factories, producing and sending essential juices right where they're needed most. The liver's main job here is to produce a substance called bile, which gets stored in the gallbladder. And bile's special skill is called emulsification. Basically, it acts just like dish soap on a greasy pan. It takes big blobs of fat and oil and breaks them up into millions of tiny little droplets. This doesn't chemically break the fat down, but it massively increases the surface area, which gives the fat-digesting enzymes way more to work with. And this is where the real magic happens, inside the small intestine. The pancreas sends in this powerful cocktail of enzymes. You've got amylase, which gets to work chopping up any leftover carbohydrates. You've got protease, which continues the job of breaking down proteins. And now, thanks to that bile we just talked about, lipase can finally attack all those tiny fat droplets, breaking them down into fatty acids and glycerol. It's a real team effort. So we've seen the journey. We've met the players. But what makes this whole system work so flawlessly? Well, that brings us to our last section. Because it turns out it's not enough to just have the right enzymes. You have to have the absolute perfect conditions for them to do their jobs. You see, enzymes are, well, they're kind of like divas. They are incredibly sensitive to their environment. For them to work at their best, at top speed, conditions like temperature and pH have to be just right. If things get a little off, their performance drops, and if things get really off, they just stop working altogether. Okay, take temperature, for example. This graph shows that the enzymes in our body work best right around our normal body temperature, about 37 degrees Celsius. That's their peak performance. But look what happens if it gets too hot. Their activity just plummets. That's because the heat actually changes the enzyme's shape, warping that special active site. We call this process denaturing, and it's permanent. It's a big reason why a high fever can be so dangerous. And pH, that's the measure of how acidic or alkaline something is just as critical. And what's so amazing here is that different enzymes are built for completely different environments. Look at pepsin, the enzyme from the stomach. It works best at a super acidic pH of about 2. But then look at amylase from the small intestine. It needs alkaline conditions, way up around a pH of 8. If you put amylase in the stomach, it would be completely useless. And this just shows you that the body is an absolute master chemist. It intentionally makes the stomach a harsh acid bath just for pepsin. Then, as the food moves on, it completely neutralizes that acid and changes the chemistry to create the perfect alkaline conditions for the next team of enzymes to do their job. It's an absolutely incredible feat of biological engineering. So, from that simple sandwich all the way to the energy that's powering your brain right this second, the whole journey is a masterpiece. Every single step, every organ, every enzyme is perfectly tuned to work in harmony. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If this system is so perfectly designed, what happens when we disrupt those perfect conditions through our diet or stress or illness? It's a pretty powerful reminder of just how intricate and yet how delicate our inner fuel factory really is. Thanks for joining.